My first bike, super memorable, was some little like 16-inch bike with a banana seat. I remember learning how to jump on that. And then as I got older, I got a few other bikes that were, friends' bikes that kind of traded pieces together, and dyno with mags, and I can remember having red lines and DG. I remember having a Mongoose California. So many cool bikes over the years. But my first real BMX bike I ever got from a shop was a Fred Blood Pro General made it. And it's funny because it was like a total flatland bike, and I was into dirt jumping and jumping, and I didn't even really know who Fred Blood was at the time, but as I got older, I realized that he was more of a showman and flatlander, not as much as R.L. Osborne, a real ramp rider and doing the crazy stuff of the time. But I didn't know, I was just a kid, and there's a really sweet two-tone color to it. It was half chrome and half blue and had pegs on it, a gyro, so I was pretty much taken by that, and I figured I would go for it. So I got that bike. I brought it home, rode it a shitload. Remember getting Jive Tentacle grips on it. Was super pumped on that. At the time, there wasn't many people that had those, and it was pretty awesome just to have a bike that you were really excited to ride. Every day you'd look down and just be, I don't know. I kind of think it's the way it is now. You see your bike and you change things up every time, and every once in a while, and you look at it and it makes you really want to ride. Even if you don't need new bars or you don't need new pedals or some new part on your bike, when you actually update something, it just gets you really excited to go out and ride, and it gets you motivated, and just it's it just kind of renews the love for it. So I try to update my bike as much as I can now, and back then it was I didn't get to too often. I had that bike. I left it in the back of my dad's pickup truck one night, and it had gotten stolen. A kid left his hoopty ass Huffy and taken my bike and never saw it again. So from that, I'd gotten so many my parents would buy me a Redline 3 series or something, where it was a cool bike, but it was the lower end of the spectrum, so it wasn't really what I wanted. One-piece cranks, I would go through them pretty quick. I was breaking forks, breaking bars, breaking pretty much any bike that I got at that time. And I can remember just my parents just shaking their heads what are you doing? Yeah, they stood behind me the whole time, and they ended up getting me a really good bike when I was 12, 13 years old. They got me a TNT set up to race, and then they ended up getting me a standard STA when I was 16. I saved up some money, and then they matched it, got me a standard STA. I'd gotten so many S&Ms over the years, and yeah, I probably had to have 10 S&Ms, but I always loved S&M and standard. Those were my two favorites. And then yeah, I've been on a terrible one for the last, I don't even know how long it's been. Let's see, 19, almost 20 years. I've been on a terrible one, which is fucking awesome. I couldn't be happier. And yeah, I'm a lucky kid, so. First dirt jumping contest I ever went to, I'm pretty sure, was Flemington BMX track. Jump a single jump, and it was just pretty much balls to the wall, ride downhill, and just try whatever you could try. And I literally could not do shit. So I was just trying to do bar spins. I just ate shit every time. It wasn't pretty. I think that was 94 or 95. Around that same year, I think it was 95, there was the first Jump for Joy contest, which this guy Steve Wisbeski put on, and I think he did 20 this year, was his 20th contest, but it was the first one, and I was 15 during that. George Horning took me there. I had no idea what I was in for. and that's where I kind of really saw like freestyle BMX for the first time. I saw Jim Delavale, a handful of guys from that scene in North Jersey that I'd never known really. Sinisi, I ended up running into all those guys there, and it was like just a box jump contest, and it was fun. They did quarter pipe lip tricks on the lip of the box jump, and then box jump tricks, and same thing. I fucking sucked, so I just pretty much ate shit every time. But it was that was the beginning of like feeling what it was about and seeing like the camaraderie with everybody that was there, and just like the start of the family. As you got older, you just realized what you had.
It doesn't have to be. You can just like.
Yeah, well, I mean the vivid one that I remember that's easy to recall is the 2-hip contest that was at Tom's River Skate Park, because that was the first contest I ever entered with. Like, it was later. I think that was like more towards like 97 maybe. I think it was in 97, but that was more towards I started riding the skate park a bunch. I kind of learned how to ride ramps a little bit, and Van came, and that was the first time that the two of us had really were in a contest that had to do with a skate park, where you really were like, okay, here we go, like we're gonna put it all out there and see what happens. And it was just like riding with Cameron Birdwell back then, and all like the 2-hip guys, meeting Wilkerson, and all those guys that were out there were just like the guys that I saw in the past in the magazines, and then see him in the present, in the flesh, and see him doing stuff that you didn't think was possible. That was the turning point where I was just like, it's on, Stauffer tabletop over the 250s for sure. Fuck. Joe Rich's 360 table photo over the spine at Penn Skate.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of my favorites. Taj downside whip photo, like from his ride interview, like the downside whip with the blue, with his blue bike. Like, I could go all day. Like, there's so many. The Hoffman photo from the Worlds, and doing the tabletop like 10 feet over all the photographers. Like, there's so many. But those are off the top of my head. Those were always the ones that I would always see. Yeah.
Cool.
I think Mel Cody, Taj at Schreimerville Skate Park in '94, and Foster in '94 also. Yeah, Stauffer. Brian Foster in '94 at the South Park National race national, and I remember seeing him there. Yeah. I mean, that's really as obvious as it gets for me in my riding. My favorite 3 tricks, like tabletop, turn down, probably X up. Those are my 3 favorite tricks.
Good.
The simplest, and no bullshit, and everybody does them. It's the most basic trick, but every single person in BMX does it completely different and puts her signature on it. So they say it's just a tabletop. For every person, it's completely different, and it looks different, and everybody has their way of doing it. So for me, that's like your best way of showing something, is putting your own signature on it. That's a tough one. I mean, over the years, there's been so many influential riders.
I guess one of them technically would be the first guy you saw with BMX.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, that was the first time that I saw him. I wanted to get a bike. I wanted to learn how to do everything possible on a bike. And it wasn't even like, hey, I would just want to jump. I want to do this. It's like, that's your first shot at freedom. Like, as soon as you're 7 years old, you get on a bike, you take off. that's your first shot of
Yeah,
freedom.
yeah.
Like you're away from everything and you're out and you don't look back and you're just going for it. And that's like you're getting away from your parents, you're getting away from your friends, you're trying to just get out and go. And that's like that's the best part about it. Taj for sure. I mean, he was always a huge influence on me. Like I remember reading his interview and like to the I looked up to him so much. I changed my diet when I was a kid. Like, you know, I started being vegetarian because I was like, man, he's doing it. It's working for him. I'll try it. I tried it, and next thing I knew, like, you know, 20 years of being a vegetarian. Like, it's crazy. Matt Hoffman, because he pushes it harder than anybody else ever, and he never asks for anything for it. Like, he just keeps progressing forward, and he never is upset because he didn't get a certain recognition from a certain person or a certain end of the industry or anything. He just does it. Like you look in his eyes when he's riding or when he's just sitting there, he does not care. He just does it for himself, and he does it because he's passionate about it, and that means a lot to me, you know, because for me that's the same reason I do it.
Yeah.
Like I'd be here doing this whether, you know, I'm coming over to ride something specific or I'm coming here just to hang out with friends.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna ride my bike. I'm still gonna do it until I can't. It's just the way.
Like
it's what I do. Oh man. Probably first time I went to South Park National for a race actually, and my parents took me to Push. I think that was '94. Took me to Push Trails, and I saw Bennett and all those guys riding the trails, and I was just blown away because like I had seen trails before, but not like that, and not on that platform where there was like 100 guys like just out fully riding, and everybody was just doing trains with like 30 or 40 guys, and like it was just crazy. I was just like, holy shit, I didn't even know that existed. And I went there, and my parents are like, what the hell are these kids doing in the woods? This is crazy. And like, oh man, it was a really, like, that was such a turning point because I realized like they have this here, but you can create that anywhere. So I just knew I wanted to go home and build that as fast as I could. Like I wanted to go as fast as I could and just do that for myself and for everybody. The trips coming over here to go to the backyard jams were always awesome because we would just jump in the van with Ian, go to south of France, just travel all over Europe, and that fueled the fire later for the T1 World Trip where we got pretty much plane tickets and just said, let's get lost for 10 months and see what happens. And that was at the time the pinnacle of my life, and I look back on it and really it was just a discovery of what life can really be. So it wasn't so much like, okay, I did this, it's over, now I start my real life, is what I actually thought. Because I was like, hey, I'm going to get married, I'll have a kid, I'll do what every person should do. And now that I'm getting a little older, I realize that, like, you can't just do what everybody expects you to do. Like, you can't do, there's no cookie cutter that makes a perfect person, and you can't just create these perfect people everywhere. Every person has their own path, and you end up in a completely different spot than everybody else around you. So you just have to live your way the best to get to where you want to go. And I learned that, you know, I did hit some bumps in the roads and stuff, but for that trip showed me how good life could be.
Yeah.
And what I needed to do to stay happy as a person, because I couldn't be happier right now. Like, I wouldn't change one thing in my life. Yeah. You obviously know, like I rode the bike shows with Jerry Galley, and that was like a huge, like, that was a huge one. Because I always heard Joe Rich talk about it, like, yeah, Jerry Galley this, Jerry Galley that, and he showed me a photo, and I was like, oh, cool. And then I watched him ride, and I was like, huh. And I talked to him, and like I knew he hadn't ridden in a long time, and he got excited and just took 2 or 3 runs, and I was like, holy shit. Like, natural talent, people have natural talent, but that's natural talent. And just a different perspective of seeing things that nobody else, it was like nothing else, Ian Morris, of course, like, seeing him in the old S&M videos, like the backwards rail, and like just all his stuff over the years, like, just, and knowing him as a person now, and just the fact that like he has been through every era of BMX, and he's lived it the whole time, and never given up, and never said a bad word about it in that whole time period, is, I mean, that's just saying that, like, that's perfect. You want that you want people to feel what you feel about this industry, and they can't unless they're in it full throttle, and they're really living it, and yeah, he lives it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So that's those are the 2 off the top of my head. Well, that's the thing. There's like 30 or 40 of them that I'm thinking, like Scott, like Story King. Like, there's so many that like they're trying to get through that same passage. Like, I'm like, oh my god, there's so many. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with those 2 because those are the 2 that come to the top of my head like so easily. But like you just think about riding with Baz over the years, and like there's just so many like just amazing riders that come from here, and like Bestwick, like riding with Bestwick like 15 years ago, like, and then seeing them now, and just different people over the years. Like, I can't even just pinpoint a third. Like, worst 3 gimmicks. Fuck. Yeah, that's tough. Because the gimmicks are, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird because a lot of the gimmicks, like, a lot of people thought they needed them at the time, and realistically, you didn't. Like, I always think of, like, Alex triple wall wheels, like the biggest rim ever. When in reality, like, if you like honed your riding in, and like worked on a different way of actually riding, like, it's different things like that. That's not really a gimmick though. That's just a different like style of product. Fuck. Gimmicks. That's tough. You put me on the spot. I'm like, I'm blanking out because I'm like, I don't know. Just being here and thinking about like we just had a great session, and everything is just like exactly how I want it.
Oh, right.
It's hard for me to think of gimmicks because I'm in the purest place to be like to talk shit about something. I'm just like, I don't even fucking care. I would say either the contest that was in at the Hoffman warehouse. What year was that? Was that 96?
Which year was that?
The Hoffman, the wooden jump box one, yeah. Yeah, I always used to watch that, and it was just like seeing everybody go crazy over this like jump box, and like, yeah, that was just like, for some reason I just had that on repeat, and I would just watch it and just watch everybody, like, somebody would try something, next person would try something more, and then it just kept escalating, and I always like, now I know it because I've gone through it and I've seen it firsthand so many times in contests and in general, just people feed off energy. But back then I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how that worked. And that was my first real feeling of seeing it and like, holy crap, these people are going crazy because this one goes crazy. This next one, like, they're not even one-upping each other, but it's just feeding off the energy and like, you know, you see your friend do something, then they're, yeah, look, I'm going to do my version of it, I'm going to do my version of it, and it just keeps escalating, and you get to the top, and everybody's just pumped. So that's a vivid memory for me, for sure. Fuck all the bullshit, just ride BMX.